The fight rages on between Washington State and Oregon State versus the departing 10 members of the Pac-12 conference. And the Pac-2, Washington State and Oregon State, they're playing a hardball. They're not letting up. This thing's getting ugly, folks. And I'm going to talk about the latest update in this saga right after this word from my sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, and fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another edition of Kuz's Corner. Belly yourself up to the bar and let me pour you out this shot of top-shelf college football content. On tap today, we are once again talking conference realignment, this time the focus going back to the Pac-12, taking our eyes off the ACC for just a minute, looking squarely at the Pac-12 and the situation going on over there. We all know what's going on. There's 4 members leaving and going to the Big 12, 4 leaving and going to the Big 10, and then they have 2 leaving and going to the ACC, leaving only Washington State and Oregon State to quote-unquote hold the bag, basically. Now, bag being the key word there, because at the end of the day, this all revolves around money and who gets the bag, right? Well, this latest saga, the latest drama, specifically revolves around a mid-season payment that the conference typically gets from their TV partners. It's a mid-season payment that's about 15% of their annual revenue, and it is distributed among all the members. It comes out to about $5 million per school, about $61 million total. Apparently, Washington State and Oregon State are blocking that payment from going to the departing 10 schools. They're saying, hey, you're leaving the league. You're no longer part of the board. The money's ours. The money belongs to the Pac-12, and you are no longer in the Pac-12. That's the gist of it. That's a summary. The departing 10 members are pulling a Lee Corso saying, not so fast, my friend. We get our share of the money because we're still in this conference, and you are abusing your power. That's what the departing 10 members are saying here. Now, we all remember, or most of you probably do anyway, that last month there was a ruling made by a Whitman County, Washington judge determining that the Cougars and the Beavers, which is Washington State and Oregon State, were the sole members of the governing board, giving them control over the distribution of revenues and assets. 2 weeks later, the Washington Supreme Court stayed the ruling, but left in place a temporary restraining order issued in September that prevents the Pac-12 board from making decisions without the consent of all Pac-12 schools. The unanimity, try saying that word fast 3 times, the unanimity requirement has placed the conference in a state of near paralysis. And here's a quote on that from Commissioner George Klafkoff. Because of the ongoing litigation between our members, our view is that we can only make the December distribution with the unanimous approval of our members, and are therefore not planning to make the distribution in the absence of such a vote. The Pac-12 would, of course, call for such a vote if requested by any member, end quote. Now, we do remember that, or we have read reports, rather, that the Mountain West Conference has agreed to a scheduling agreement with Washington State and Oregon State, right? That's been in the news. I've talked about it here on my channel. Well, apparently, the other 10 members of the Pac-12 had to vote to allow that to happen, because according to that ruling by the Washington State Supreme Court, they still get a vote until this thing actually goes to court. So that's big in this. They're going to use that as leverage, which I'll get to more here in just a minute. Now, here's the joint statement that was put out by Washington State and Oregon State. As the only 2 remaining members, Oregon State and Washington State are the only schools committed to the best interest of the Pac-12. That means taking responsible steps to protect the assets of the conference and plan for the future. No member acting in the Pac-12's best interest would allow departing schools to drain the conference's assets on their way out the door, while they refuse to pay their fair share of the liabilities, end quote. Now, those liabilities are important, and here's why. We've all heard about the Comcast overpayments. We know that Comcast overpaid the Pac-12 for like 10 years. We know the conference owes them somewhere in the neighborhood of between 50 to 70 million. We don't know the exact number. It comes out to where somewhere between $4 to $6 million per school. Now, all 12 schools are on the hook for that. They're not getting away from paying that because they were all members of the Pac-12 at the time of those payments. But that is a drop in the bucket to what could be coming down the pike, and that is the biggest limiting liability, which is the House case. For those of you not familiar with the House case, it is the biggest case, in my opinion, that the NCAA has ever seen. If they lose this lawsuit, alongside the other defendant, the Power 5 conferences, they would be on the hook for billions of dollars. And I said billions on purpose. I stressed that on purpose, folks. It's with a B. Billions. It's going to cost each Power 5 school tens of millions of dollars. I think I estimated around $40 million a school at one point. And that's without even knowing what the exact numbers are going to be. That's just based on estimates that are out there. If Washington State and Oregon State are relegated to a group of 5 league, which it looks like they're going to be, they're only going to be bringing in about a third to a fourth of the revenue they were bringing in as members of the Pac-12. Yet they still are going to be on the hook for payments in this House case because they were in a Power 5 conference when all this took place. And what am I talking about? Well, a former Arizona State swimmer, Grant House, is suing the NCAA and Power 5 leagues on behalf of former athletes. The two things he's suing for: back pay for name, image, and likeness distributions that occurred several years before 2021. I'm not sure. I don't know the exact time frame, how far they're going back in time. But they're going back a few years and saying, hey, any Power 5 athlete that played sports at a Power 5 institution during a set number of years are getting back pay for NIL. That's the first thing they're suing for. The second thing they're suing for, 10% revenue share for all student athletes. Folks, this could cost billions for the Power 5 leagues and the NCAA. A lot of money, folks, we're talking about. It could absolutely cripple some of these schools who aren't making much TV revenue money. But for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on Washington State and Oregon State for a minute and the Pac-12. Washington State and Oregon State know that could be coming in 2025. Now, 2025 is when they're scheduled to actually go to court on this case. They know that could be coming. And if it happens, they don't want to be stuck paying all that money when they're only making $19 million a year in TV revenue. And they're claiming that the departing schools have shown no plan to deal with the liability. And all those schools are included as well. Now, those schools probably aren't too worried about it because they're going to be making, at least the 4 in the Big Ten especially, are going to be making enough money to afford to pay it. Now, the ones that are going to the ACC and Big 12 are probably sweating it a little bit more. Let's be honest. But they're still not sweating it as much as Washington State and Oregon State. But should Washington State and Oregon State even be sweating it? Maybe not. That gets us to the next quote, which is the joint statement from the 10 departing schools. And here's what they had to say. A decision to distribute 15% of the more than $400 million in net revenues to the members now to support student athletes, as the conference has always done in December, has nothing to do with the future of the conference. Instead, Oregon State and Washington State's refusal to agree to it shows that the two schools are abusing their position to injure our programs and athletes in violation of all prior precedents. The unanimous support that all of our schools gave for the Mountain West Agreement demonstrates that Oregon State and Washington State can successfully plan for their future, while all members continue to have a say in Pac-12 decisions impacting the current athletics year. The hundreds of millions of dollars that the conference will receive from existing contracts during the 2 years after the schools depart will support plans with the Mountain West and any future plans of the conference. That is what the departing 10 members are trying to say. They're like, look, Washington State and Oregon State, you're going to be getting hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for 2 more years after we leave. because you have that 2-year grace period where you're still part of a power league and you get all the revenue distributions that go to being in a power league. College football playoff money, NCAA tournament money, the TV revenue, all of that. You get it. But what they're saying is, look, you cannot get that and still get what's going to be paid this year when our teams were in the conference competing this year. That's the big argument right now. Washington State and Oregon State are trying to put all this money away for a quote-unquote rainy day and plan for their future so that they're not stuck in a bad spot when this house case comes due, when the money for this case comes due. Now, do I feel sorry for the 10 departing schools? I don't. I don't feel sorry for them at all. They're going to be fine. Like I said, especially the 4 that are going to the Big Ten. But I do understand their argument here. They want to do what's in best interest of their universities and their programs and their schools. And in their mind, if they're competing in the Pac-12, they deserve the Pac-12 revenue from this season, from this year, from this fiscal year. But again, I also understand where Washington State and Oregon State are coming from. They're desperate, folks. They're in panic mode right now. And they're trying to get all the money they can get that they feel is rightfully owed to them. Will they rule in favor of Washington State and Oregon State getting all these assets, or will they have to share them with the outgoing 10 members? Let's remember, though, when that judge in Washington agreed that Washington State and Oregon State were the sole board members of the league, he did also say you cannot treat the outgoing schools unfairly. You have to be fair and give them what is owed to them. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but he said you can't treat them unfairly. They could potentially be crossing that line. We will see. I want to hear your thoughts on this, Kuz's Corner family. Which side of the coin do you fall on? Which side of this case? I kind of find myself seeing it from both sides. I totally understand both sides of the argument. For selfish reasons, I'd like to see Oregon State and Washington State win this case to a degree. But at the same time, if I was a fan of one of those other schools or had a stake in one of those other schools, I would totally be on their side. I just like to root for the underdog, and Washington State and Oregon State right now are the underdog. Guys, I'm asking for your support for my channel here. There's several different ways. Earlier, you saw the names of some of my VIP members here at the channel. I want to give them a shout out. Hall of Fame College Football, Bill G, Phil the Masters, and Hellbilly. I want to give you all a shout out. That's just a few of my VIP members here. Right now, I'm holding a Bowl Mania contest for all of my channel members. If you want to get in on that, there will be a prize at the end for the winner. If you want to get in on that, become a VIP member here at Kuz's Corner. It's open to channel members only. Just one of the perks of being a member. Also, another way you can support me and also support your favorite college football team, NIL trading cards. ONIT Athlete now offers NIL trading cards for college athletes. If you want, transfer portal is in full force right now. NIL collectives and athletic departments are doing all they can to support their athletes through NIL. One way you can do that is buy these trading cards. West Virginia is available. There are several other Big 12 teams available. There are some Pac-12 teams available. Go to ONIT Athlete website using the link in my description box. See if your team is available. And if you make a purchase after clicking that link, I will get a small commission from the sale. And you'll also be supporting your favorite athletes at your favorite university. They will get 60% of the profits. Also, I have a merch store. Go check it out. I have all kinds of designs. I have hoodies, T-shirts, tank tops, beanies, ball caps, coffee mugs. Go check it out. Also, last but not least, check out the Fanatics link in the description box. Do your Fanatics shopping. They have NIL jerseys available for your favorite team where you can customize, get your favorite player's name and number on them, or just shop for your favorite memorabilia or apparel for your favorite team over there at fanatics.com. Again, if you use the link in my description box, I will make a small commission. Or, guys, if you don't want to do any of that or can't afford to, you can support me for free, guys. All you have to do is hit the thumbs up button, which is a like. Drop the comment below that I asked for. Share it with your family and friends. And subscribe to the channel. All of those things help my channel. It all helps me grow. It all helps the YouTube algorithm. Helps me to get noticed by more people out there in YouTube land. With all that being said, guys, I really appreciate you tuning into this video. Until the next one, have a top shelf day. And don't forget to keep country roads.